Seaweed and blue-green algae. Unclean. Many Jewish rabbinical authorities have determined that refined seaweed and blue-green algae are clean kosher products. This video will challenge that determination, arguing the case against seaweed and blue-green algae being classified as clean and kosher, and will declare them unclean. Sea plants can be categorized into two general types: those having roots that are attached to the ocean bottom, and those not having roots that simply drift about with the water. All sea plants or organisms, whether drifting or rooted, are unclean. Commonly eaten drifting sea plants and organisms are seaweed and blue-green algae. Various seaweed and blue-green algae products are marketed and sold as superfoods, certified microcystin-free, clean, and kosher. Although microcystins can be removed from sea plants, this will not make them clean, and product testing reveals that some level of microcystins remain present in commercially sold blue-green algae products. Job 14 verse 4. Who can bring a clean thing out of an unclean? No one. Many Jewish rabbinical authorities have classified seaweed, blue-green algae, and other sea plants, such as kelp, as clean and kosher, based on a misnomer that these sea plants or organisms are vegetation. Genesis 1 verse 29. Every herb that yields seed, which is on the face of all the earth, and every tree whose fruit yields seed, to you it shall be for food. Leviticus 11, verse 9 through 12, Deuteronomy 14, verse 9 through 10. These you may eat of all that are in the waters. You may eat all that have fins and scales, and whatever does not have fins and scales, you shall not eat. It is unclean for you. Sea plants, sometimes referred to as sea vegetation, do not yield seed and should therefore be considered unclean, according to Genesis 1, verse 29. To call algae, kelp, nori, spirulina, carrageenan, or any seaweed a vegetable is biologically incorrect or simple ignorance of marine life. Despite their plant-like appearance, scientists do not group algae with terrestrial plants, but instead group them in differing microscopic classifications of the animal kingdom. Algae lack true roots, stems, seeds, leaves, and flowers. Algae differ from flowering plants in that they have a holdfast instead of roots, a stipe instead of a stem, and a blade or thallus instead of leaves. Without roots or internal tissues to conduct water, algae absorb minerals and gases directly from seawater through the surfaces of their blades. Algae, all seaweeds, are nature's water filters. Facts about seaweed. Seaweeds are saltwater-dwelling marine algae. Seaweed is a name applied to almost any plant-like marine organism that is large enough to be seen with the unaided eye. Seaweeds can be found growing in underwater beds, floating on the sea surface, attached to rocks and piers, and washed up on shore. Oriental cuisine. Seaweed is commonly used in Chinese, Japanese, and Korean salads, soups, and other dishes. Nori seaweed is used to wrap raw fish and rice for sushi. For dietary, law-minded believers who eat sushi, the fish consumed should be of a clean fish, such as salmon, and it should be ordered a la carte or sashimi, without a seaweed roll or wrap. Facts about blue-green algae.
It's an assault on nearly all the senses. A living, breathing, growing, toxic organism known as blue-green algae, at its worst this month.
That's very much alive.
Gosh, the smell is bad.
Caking America's lakes so thick the swirling slime can actually be seen in photos from space.
People that used to be here after a couple of years said we just can't handle it anymore, and they left.
Tom Corin runs the marina at Lake Petenwell, Wisconsin, or tries to.
Nobody wants to swim in this water. Nobody wants to boat in it.
It not only looks bad and smells bad, it's toxic. And those who are unlucky enough to fall in without a suit like this get sick pretty fast.
Dan Jenkins didn't even go in the lake next to his house, but his dog Casey did.
He's covered in this carpet of green slime.
It made breathing difficult, and within weeks,
Casey had started walking sideways.
72 hours later, he died, and his owner, Dan, was partially paralyzed.
Oh, it hit me hard. Wobbling around like that, it would make me mad. I mean, it was a fight.
He still hasn't recovered, and a joint investigation by ABC News and the Food and Environment Reporting Network found more than 100 reported illnesses due to blue-green algae exposure.
Essentially, if we don't solve this problem, somebody's going to die.
Blue-green algae, commonly known as pond scum, are microscopic plant organisms that form in warm, shallow, slow-moving, or still water, including ponds and lakes. Blue-green algae are scientifically known as cyanobacteria. Snake oil. Beware of snake oil salesmen who promise you health in a bottle. They peddle blue-green algae, shark liver oil, and other supposed superfood miracle products as remedies or preventative medicine foods. Phony dietary health supplements, medicines, and tonics proclaiming to treat or cure various ailments have always been promoted and sold to a scripturally uninformed and gullible public. Miraculous claims associated with any such dietary supplement product should be thoroughly researched by the consumer. Often these phony medicines contain creatures that are scripturally unclean for human consumption, thereby offsetting any dubious medicinal benefits. Blue-green algae has been promoted as being able to treat or cure a host of ailments, including asthma, allergies, anxiety, depression, fatigue, hypoglycemia, digestive problems, and attention deficit disorder, and even help with weight loss, improve memory and mental ability, detoxify the body, and boost the immune system. Why blue-green algae is dangerous. Blue-green algae can be easily contaminated with toxic substances, notably microcystins and heavy metals. The presence of blue-green algae toxins in surface waters used for drinking water sources and recreation is a public health concern. Algae blooms can be toxic to humans and sometimes kill dogs that lap up the slime. Of the more than 1,500 known species of blue-green algae, some have been reported to cause feelings of general malaise, gastroenteritis, gastrointestinal discomfort, hepatitis, and jaundice. Some blue-green algae advocates have proposed a spiritually disturbing sales pitch that humanity evolved from the sea and we all once ate blue-green algae as part of our natural diet in our primordial past. If a person believes that we were once algae-consuming fish that evolved eons ago to become oxygen-breathing humans, then perhaps blue-green algae may be a product for him or her. Messianics, Christians, and others who believe that God created man in his own image and has instructed man what to eat for food via his dietary commandments should regard seaweed and blue-green algae products as something to be avoided as unclean. Blue-green algae products are basically pond scum peddled as health supplements, bottled in the form of capsules, pills, and powders. Persons who have consumed blue-green algae supplements to detoxify their body have often experienced the pain and discomfort of adding toxins to it. Seaweed and blue-green algae do not produce seed, nor do they have fins and scales, which renders them unclean for human consumption.